Welcome back to another exciting episode of Out of Bounds, John.
Kind of overselling it.
Well, you know what?
It's going to be exciting.
I want the people to be thrilled about this.
So that way in a half hour, they're going to be disappointed.
Exactly, that's the point of it.
It's like a bad Friday night, is what you're saying.
Sure, yeah, we'll go with that. Alongside with John, Luck and Brian Berard. And we're going to start off with the Red Sox. They open up their season tomorrow, John. Now, they do have some injuries to that pitching staff that might be a little worrisome. Of course, Stephen Wright suspended for 15 games, but he's coming off of injury. Eduardo Rodriguez is injured. Chris Sale got a nice line drive off the hip, and Drew Pomeranz is going to start the season on a 10-day DL. So, should we worry a little bit about the starting pitchers that are slightly banged up at the beginning of the season?
I'd say yes if we're talking about a lineup or a rotation in July or August, but this is right from the start of the season. Chris Sale, he took a ball off the hip, but he threw a bullpen session. He actually threw an extended bullpen session, a simulated game. He was fine after that, so I think Chris Sale is going to pass through there. As far as Stephen Wright goes, my question on him was, what was he going to give this season anyways? He was going to be maybe your number 5 starter, maybe a long man in the bullpen. But after this injury, that suspension doesn't kick in until he's off the DL. So you're talking about potentially a month and a half, 2 months without Stephen Wright. And as far as Drew Pomeranz goes, I think that could be the X factor. Last year, he proved to be a very integral part of this starting rotation. 17-6, 173 innings pitched, a 3.32 ERA. He was one of the better pitchers on this staff. He really picked up for Chris Sale when Sale started to decline in August and September.
See, the one that I'm worrying about is Eduardo Rodriguez and that knee, because we all know the fancy terms that everyone used, the subluxation of the patellar tendon.
That's like a nice Scrabble word.
Yeah, well, that's several words.
Triple word score?
But you know what that is? Simply dislocated his kneecap. And that's what I did, and it didn't take me 2 years to come back from it.
It just took you 2 years to stop complaining about it.
Well, yeah, I'm still going to complain about it until I'm dead. But, the thing to me, I wonder if this is a mental thing with Erod, that he doesn't trust it, and it's that plant foot. So how much of it do you think that this could be mental?
A lot of it could be mental. In sports, it's, 50% athletics and 50% mental.
Well, Yogi Berra said that it's 90% mental, the other half is physical.
Oh, yeah. Oh, well. I never really was good with math. That's why.
Neither was he.
Yeah, but as far as Eduardo Rodriguez goes, you can pencil him in typically for 15 to 20 starts over the past 3 seasons. 2015, 21 starts. 16, he had 20 starts. Last year, he had 24 starts. But a lot of this is mental, because the issue is when you land on that foot, what's going to happen? Because typically pitchers will spin around. At some point, Eduardo Rodriguez is going to spin around for the pitch, and the knee's just going to pop right there. And you hope that if it does, you're talking about maybe a 15-day disabled list or a 10-day DL trip, but nothing too serious. As far as Eduardo Rodriguez goes, though, a number 4 starter, he could be important, but I don't think that's going to be the biggest issue on this team.
Yeah, I don't really think it's going to be that big of an issue. And I always say this at the beginning of every baseball season. It's a long season. Whether the Red Sox start 10-0 or 0-10, you're always going to say it's a long season, relax. There's still 140 games, 150 games left after whatever. But I'm not really concerned. Like you said, if it was July and August, we're kind of going down the stretch, that's when I'd kind of be concerned. But, in the early going of the season, you're going to have to rely probably on Brian Johnson to come back up and give you some quality innings and go on from there. But so, John, I want to ask you this now about the team. We'll move away from the starting pitching. Who on this team, in the infield, I want to focus on the infield for now. Who on the infield do you think has to really step up this season?
I think Xander Bogaerts does. All this talk about the whole contract situation, he's getting to the end of that contract. So you want to go ahead and really make your name, get your stats really bumped up so that we could make the big money. So if I'm the Red Sox or Xander Bogaerts, to me this has to be the year that number 2 really sticks out. Borderline MVP caliber play is what we need from Xander Bogaerts offensively to really get the Red Sox going here, because this isn't an offensive juggernaut of a baseball team. They got J.D. Martinez, but they were last in home runs last year. They were among the last in runs batted in, batting average. So this isn't a team that's going to win by slamming the ball out of the ballpark.
I agree with you. I think Xander Bogaerts does have to step up. For me, I think it's Dustin Pedroia. Remember last year with the whole Manny Machado thing and the Orioles, and everyone kept looking, who's the leader? He goes, it's me right here. And he really wasn't a leader. So I really want to see Dustin Pedroia step up, because the trade talks of trading Dustin Pedroia have kind of gotten louder and louder and louder every single year, and I kind of want to see if Dustin Pedroia can kind of quiet those and really be an integral part of the infield.
But the question there is, did Dustin Pedroia maybe step back a little bit to maybe get John Farrell fired? Because he was on the radio and he basically threw John Farrell under the bus.
Everyone did.
Right, which is something that Dustin Pedroia doesn't do.
Yeah, that's going to be an interesting thing. But, I'm glad that Alex Cora is here. I think he's going to be exponentially better than John Farrell, because even though I think it's kind of a soft thing to say, but everyone on that team last year was saying, oh, it wasn't fun to play on that team. And I'm like, yeah, you should have fun, but you're really going to complain that you didn't have fun during the season?
I mean, I'll take fun or no fun if you give me $100 million. I mean, honestly, give me $100 million over fun any day of the week.
Yeah, well, yeah, there you go. All right, so it's going to be an interesting season for the Red Sox, but I still think that they're going to win the American League East. You don't think they're going to win the American League East. David Ortiz doesn't even think they're going to win the American League East. He's picking the Yankees. Maybe he's just doing that to stir the pot up a little bit.
No, maybe he's a realist.
I don't think David Ortiz is really a realist. Every single season into spring training, he wants more money.
Who doesn't want more money?
Well, yeah, but every single year we had to hear it from him. But that's here, though, near. We're going to move on now to the Boston Celtics.
It's just fun not being the host anymore. I can just kind of sit back and let you try and
sit back and enjoy and just watch this disaster
the awkwardness
unfold.
on this side.
Well, you know what? Apparently, it's just this side of the screen that has a bunch of awkwardness.
Yeah.
Especially that happened in the news. But anyways, we're going to move on now to the Boston.
Gunther was right here. We had a puppet show.
We did. We had Gunther right here, but he's not going to make an out-of-bounds appearance.
I have a puppet next to me. Next.
Yeah, next. All right. For the 18th time, I'm going to try and introduce this. Get the pun. The Boston Celtics. You think they're going to win banner 18 this year. I don't think it's going to happen. I don't think so. But they're playing the Utah Jazz. And believe it or not, John, the Utah Jazz are a 7.5-point favorite over the Boston Celtics. How does that make you feel? The best team, they're going to win banner 18. The Utah Jazz are the 7.5-point favorite over the Celtics.
Well, let's see. Kyrie Irving isn't playing. Jaylen Brown's coming back from having a concussion. You don't have Marcus Morris, most likely. Daniel Tice is out. Pretty much your offense is Terry Rozier. And that's been the most impressive part of this Western Conference road trip, is the play of Terry Rozier. He went off against Sacramento Kings, 8 3-pointers, I believe 9 3-pointers, but nevertheless came very close to a record-setting performance for the Boston Celtics. A career-high 33 points. He's going to be very important over the next few weeks because you don't know when you're going to get Kyrie Irving back, and if you do, what type of Kyrie Irving are you going to get back? He's not going to be 100%.
I'm glad that you brought up Kyrie Irving, and of course now he's going to have a procedure to remove some of the pins in his knee that was giving him some of those problems. So, John, how big of a loss is this going to be to the Celtics knowing that Kyrie Irving's not going to come back until most likely the playoffs and second round Eastern Conference Finals? Well,
I think this was the forgotten thing after the trade with Isaiah Thomas because everyone thought, great, we're getting Kyrie Irving, but a lot of people forgot what happened a few years ago with Irving's knee. He got that thing reconstructed because his kneecap popped out. Everybody knew that it was going to be a situation of when, not if, is this thing going to blow up. And the next question for the Celtics fans is, do you even want Kyrie Irving to come back this season? Is this season a season that a lot of people think that's going to be lost because they're going to lose to Toronto or Cleveland or Washington? Is it worth having Kyrie Irving come back? I don't think so. At this point, get the procedure done. You're looking at, 6-7 months before you start really getting into training camp and the preseason. That's enough time to get whatever operation, procedures, anything like that you need done. Get Kyrie Irving back. Gordon Hayward comes back. Maybe you trade or sign for a third player. Jaylen Brown molds more into an all-star caliber player. I think next year is a year to look at. I think this year, if he can come back, help out, all right, but I don't think you force him.
Now, the interesting thing is of course, John Wall has also been out for the Washington Wizards, Washington Bullets, formerly called. And some people may think that they might slip to that 7 seed, and the Celtics are pretty much a lock at that 2 seed. And John Wall's return is looking to be around that first round of the Eastern Conference playoffs. So if you are the Celtics and you're going into that playoff matchup with John Wall coming back, are you scared of the Wizards?
Oh, I'm really scared of the Wizards. I mean, they almost knocked you out of the playoffs last year. And this year you got John Wall coming back after a long rest. Bradley Beal is proving more and more he belongs in that MVP conversation, not an MVP contender, but conversation. And the one thing to watch out for is if John Wall comes back with maybe some games left, maybe Washington bumps up to that 6 seed or the 5 seed, and you play a team like an Indiana or a Philadelphia. The bottom of the Eastern Conference is still very fluid. And, I mean, look at the Western Conference. That thing's just a train wreck right now from 2 through 10.
Yeah, really, the Western Conference is just a free-for-all. And that's weird because normally it's Golden State at the top and it's just the rest. Now it's Houston Rockets. And the Celtics.
Wrong sport.
Yeah, exactly, the Red Sox. The Celtics went into Houston. They had that game against Houston. They had it won. They ultimately choked it away. That's where a lot of people were saying the Celtics are, a legitimate NBA contender. But I want to ask you this, John. So let's say if it does work out, the Celtics do get past the first round opponent, no matter who it is. let's say if they get past that second round, the Eastern Conference semis, and you're in the Eastern Conference Finals, do you consider maybe pushing Kyrie back?
I think at that point it's up to Kyrie, but at that point it's 8 weeks since he had the procedure, whatever. I think at that point Kyrie should be able to play. I think he could even play in the semifinals. But again, I don't think I push this really hard, because if you get by the Eastern Conference playoffs, you go on and play in Houston or in Golden State. I don't think the Celtics, as constructed right now, can take out a team like a Houston or a Golden State. So right now, I think Kyrie Irving, the biggest thing for him, get healthy, come back for next year, and I think next year, that's the year that the Celtics really contend for Banner 18.
I'm glad that you're finally coming back down to earth.
I mean, Banner 18's still going up. You're not invited to the
I mean, because every single season, you always say Banner 18's going, and it's just they don't even get to the NBA Finals.
Is that like every year when you tell me 161-1 and the only loss for the Red Sox is a perfect game against the Royals?
It's going to happen, John. It's going to happen. Anyways, so we'll wrap up our Celtics talk with that. On the other side of the break, we're going to mention the ESPN Top 20 Dominant list, and a lot of people here are pretty upset about that. I wonder who to talk about. Ooh, more Out of Bounds on the other side of the break.
If you don't fix them, sparks from dragging tow chains could cause a wildfire, and that could be scary.
Hi, Smokey.
Only you can prevent wildfires.
Here's your check. Oh, you got it. You know, since I got rid of my car, I really enjoy walking.
Okay. Got it. No.
Getting pulled over for buzz driving could cost you around $10,000 in fines, legal fees, and increased insurance rates.
Oh, you're home early. You live with your mom?
That'll set your game back a few years. Buzzed, busted, and broke. Because buzz driving is drunk driving.
Welcome back to Out of Bounds, alongside with John Luck and Brian Berard. We discussed some Boston Red Sox. We discussed some Boston Celtics. Now we're going to move on to the New England Patriots. And we recapped them a little bit last week, but we have some free agent signings, some more to talk about. Adrian Waddle is coming back. We talked a little bit about Adrian Claiborne and Rex Burkhead. Jeremy Hill. So, John, I want to talk to you a little bit about what you think Adrian Waddle can mean to this offensive line. We lost Nate Solder. You need a good run blocker, of course, because our running back's most likely going to be James White and, Jeremy Hill. They're going to split time between them. English is hard. It's really hard.
I remember my first day talking. It was
very difficult. It's really not easy. But so how big is getting the Adrian Waddle back in this offense, someone that knows the scheme a little bit?
I think the more people you can re-sign onto this Patriots team really helps you out. Dante Scarnecchia, one of the best offensive line coaches in the NFL, really crucial. Think about the players you lost, though. You lost Cameron Fleming, he's gone to Dallas. Nate Solder went to the Giants. So now you're starting left tackle as Cole Croston. So, yeah, he played
He's going to win MVP.
Yeah. So we talked last time about the defensive side of the ball really being the focus of where I think the free agency should be looked at for the Patriots. I think you look at the offensive line maybe next. Try and fill some of those voids. And the left tackle, I think they're going to probably go through the draft, try and get a cheaper solution for Tom Brady, maybe get a wide receiver, sign them in that free agency.
Yeah, I sure hope they do, because, the left tackle is the second most important position on that football team. He's got to protect the quarterback's blind side, especially if he's right-handed like Tom Brady is.
True.
So that's going to be interesting. But to me, it's someone that I'm more interested in the fact that he knows the scheme. He knows the run blocking scheme. He knows pass blocking. I know some people go, oh, you're just an offensive line, just go out there and block. Well, no, actually, in a lot of these NFL systems, you've got to know that there is actually zone blocks that you have to do, and there's specific plays that you have to watch out for. So I'm really interested to see, that they brought him back to them, that they know, and hopefully they can actually protect Tom Brady, because remember, one little play in Super Bowl 52 was the reason why they kind of lost that strip sack, huh?
And the older Tom Brady gets, he can't exactly get hit really hard and get back up. One of these times, he's going to get creamed in the backfield, and who's going to replace him?
Well, we have Jimmy Garoppolo. Oh, no, wait, we traded him. But no, they still have Jacoby. No, they traded him.
That's strike two, Brian.
Yeah,
strike two.
Oh, that's right. Hoyer the Destroyer is going to save the day. All right. So now there's been some notable free agents that have come up, and I think the biggest one as of right now is Odell Beckham Jr. Would you be interested if OBJ came to the Patriots?
I think that would be a bad decision. But also, Bill Belichick is a coach that likes to take some of these projects and mold him into something for the future. Now, I thought of this idea all by myself, as I'm saying that I have somebody in the control room about to jump through the glass. But nevertheless,
yeah, we don't want to deface property.
No,
here,
that could get bad. But nevertheless, I think it comes down to what does Bill Belichick want to do? Does he want to take on a project? Does he want to put the project aside? Because if you sign Odell Beckham Jr. or trade for him or whatever, then do you think about getting Johnny Manziel? Do you think about getting Colin Kaepernick? How many projects do you want on this football team? A football team that had anarchy in the upper ranks with Kraft, Belichick, and Brady not too long ago.
Well, I don't want OBJ, not because it's a project thing, but it's the wide receiver position on this team is a huge question mark. I mean, you still have Julian Edelman coming back. You still have Brandon Cooks. We don't know what Rob Gronkowski is going to be. You still have Kenny Britt. I mean, and Dorsett. You still have, and it's just. How many wide receivers do you need on the team? If you bring in OBJ, it's who's going to get the dang ball?
And it comes down to injuries as well and conditioning. Odell Beckham Jr., I don't think he's played a full season in about 3 years. I think it comes down to conditioning for Odell Beckham Jr. Like I said, it's been about 3 years since he played a full season. He didn't play at all last year. Got hurt in the preseason.
Now, of course, Johnny Manziel was at Texas A&M's Pro Day the other day, and we met with Coach Bill Belichick there. Is that someone you think that Bill Belichick might be interested in bringing on?
I wouldn't be surprised to see Johnny Manziel come in for a workout, almost like what we saw with Tim Tebow. Do I think it would be a serious signing? Probably not. But it's worth a shot, worth taking a flyer on the guy. I mean, what do you do? Sign him for a year for $800,000? Why not?
Yeah, I really don't see where Johnny Manziel would fit into this roster. I mean, he would probably be backing up Brian Hoyer, and he's been out of the league for so long. I really don't. I mean, and it's also the big thing with him is his work ethic. I mean, I'm sure he's going to give us the stuff. He said the right things. I'm working on this. I'm working on that. I'm committed to coming back and playing in the NFL.
Well, we have seen some of these guys that are basically banished from the NFL from a PR standpoint. They come back and they do make a difference. You look at Michael Vick. I mean, the guy was kicked out of the league for dogfighting charges. Came back. He was a all right quarterback. He managed to get his name back a little bit.
Yeah, but Michael Vick, before that, was a revolutionary player. He was an elite NFL player. I mean, he wasn't necessarily the most accurate passer, but he had a cannon and he could make plays with his legs. So I think that's the big difference. Johnny Manziel can make plays with his legs, but he just throws the ball in dumb spots like Brett Favre did. But eventually Brett Favre was quasi kind of smart half the time when he was playing, but I just don't really see where Johnny Manziel would fit into this. Maybe if you brought him in, you brought him under the wing of Tom Brady and he learned the NFL. I mean, I'll give him this. He was brought into the NFL in the Cleveland Browns, just kind of thrown in there and said, hey, good luck, kid. And he was like, what do I do with this? So I'll give him that you come in with the Cleveland Browns, and it really was just an absolute dumpster fire there.
Cleveland is just a dumpster fire alone.
Now,
the entire city.
Yeah, you know what, John? You have a point. If they could just go off into Lake Erie like Corey once mentioned years ago, I don't think many people would care. Like when the whatever it is.
Yeah.
I can't remember what it is. Some sort of space object that China launched up into there. And Tony Maserati said, let's crash it into Connecticut and just get it off the map.
I mean, that would work. You could just build a bridge from Rhode Island to New York.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if you could really sustain that bridge that long.
Yeah,
I mean, Florida has the 7 Mile bridge, but Connecticut's
yeah,
at least 8 or 9 miles. All right.
Maybe we should get back to sports.
We'll get back to sports. So a little while ago, ESPN released its top 20 athletes or top 20 dominant athletes over the past 2 decades. So essentially from 2000 on. And a lot of people in BTV were really upset with this list.
We have a lot of people at BTV.
We were. So apparently one of our executive producers, Mary Evers, really just went off on this list and just complained about every single person on this list. What do you think of this list, John?
Okay, well, let's get something out of the way here. ESPN did the top 20 dominant athletes over the past 20 years.
Yes.
So players like Michael Jordan probably wouldn't qualify for the list. He played for the Wizards, whatever. But there are some issues that a lot of people outside of BTV across the country have had. Number 3 is Peyton Manning. Number 20 is a 5-time Super Bowl champion, Tom Brady. So there's a lot of talking points I think you can have here. I think all the sports are represented pretty well. You know, you have NASCAR's Jimmy Johnson, 5 straight NASCAR championships. You have Marta, one of the best players in women's soccer. Did great during the World Cup when it was in Brazil a few years ago. But you also have Tiger Woods, which is a little weird to me. Do I think he's one of the top 20 athletes over the past 20 years? Yeah. Do I think he's number one? Probably not.
Well, the thing is, if I read this correctly,
Probably not.
I think it's they went off of if you dominated your sport, not sports in general. So if it goes off of that, yeah, I believe Tiger Woods is the most dominant athlete in his sport. I mean, every time Tiger stepped up and played, you thought history was going to happen.
So then would you say the same thing about like a Peyton Manning? Did he dominate football?
Well, the thing, I think where they went with this list is Peyton Manning won 4 MVPs, if I stand corrected. Tom Brady only has 2, 3 maybe.
Maybe, yeah.
So I think where they're going with that is Peyton Manning dominated the NFL regular season, whereas Tom Brady dominated the NFL postseason. But also, I think they put that out there because they want people to talk about it. What are we doing about this right now, John? We're talking about this. I don't think I think Tom Brady obviously dominated football more than Peyton Manning over the past 20 years. But I'm not going to push Peyton Manning under the rug. I mean, the guy was certainly one of the greatest NFL regular season quarterbacks, and I think he has a better record against Tom Brady in the postseason as well.
Right. And there's one name on this list that kind of throws me off, and that's Barry Bonds. A guy that basically blackballed baseball, 73 home runs, all on steroids, a whole steroid
He never tested positive for steroids.
Right, never tested positive.
He just only was found guilty of obstruction of justice.
Yeah, that's just a drop in the bucket.
Eh.
To me, I don't know if Barry Bonds belongs on that list, but again, this list was made so that way people would talk about it, get discussions going.
Well, the thing is over the past 20 years, he did dominate baseball. I mean, in the earlier part of the decades, but he really was that guy where people would intentionally walk in with the bases loaded. And even Greg Maddux said, Barry Bonds is the easiest player to pitch against. He goes, you know why? You just throw 4 balls outside the strike zone and you move on to the next person.
Makes
so
sense.
he was that dominant. John, you were literally giving up a run just so you didn't have to face him. And of course, Mike Trout's on that list as well. And I wouldn't say Mike Trout really dominates baseball at the moment, but he's definitely probably the new face of baseball after Derek Jeter. But Derek Jeter's not on that list, and I'm kind of not concerned, but I'm kind of confused as to why Derek Jeter's not on that list, because I think he's dominated baseball as well.
I think maybe you could say, well, I feel like they tried giving each sport a fair shake here. You didn't want to go ahead and overload the thing with too many baseball players, too many football players, too many basketball players. I mean, there's an even number of players here from each sport. And I think Derek Jeter, maybe you think he was better in the 90s and the earlier 2000s. So
it's still over the past 20 years.
Right at the beginning of the list, I mean, this was, I don't know, it just seems like it was maybe done equally.
Now, John, let's say, top 5. Who are your top 5 dominant athletes?
Over the past 20 years?
Over the past 20 years.
I'm just going to rip off this list because
go right ahead.
I can't think off the fly like that.
Neither can I, but I try.
Yeah, we give it a shot. I think Tom Brady's probably number one. Called me a hometown person, but I think 5 Super Bowl championships, the comebacks he's been really, really instrumental on, really important there. Look up here quickly. LeBron James probably would be a number 2 for me. LeBron James basically transitioned basketball into the worldwide game it is today. I mean, it's appointment viewing now. Some of these games, I think Steph Curry would probably be a number 3 for me. I'm just going with the top 3 here.
Okay,
I can't think of the other 2.
Yeah,
we'll be here forever. We'll go back to the hour.
For me, I agree that Tiger Woods should be on there. I think he has absolutely dominated his sport. Yes, he's had his off-course issues, but yeah. I still think that when he went out there, he has 14 major championships. When he was out there, he was making history happen. Number 2 for me is Tom Brady. I think you win the 5 Super Bowls. You were literally just preventing a strip sack away from coming back in yet another Super Bowl with no defense and getting your 6th ring. And for me, it's got to be LeBron James, even though at the beginning of his career, it was, is he going to get that ring? Is he going to get that ring? And then he had to leave, go to Miami and get his rings. But I still think that LeBron James is probably the most dominant basketball players in the last 20 years here.
Definitely.
So, well, John, I know that was an exciting show. I mean, I said it was going to be exciting right from the top.
Should we take numbers of how many people watched from the beginning to the end in one sitting?
I don't think we should.
No? Do our families do it?
Maybe. But just want to remind you that you can also follow Out of Bounds on Twitter at BTVOB. You can like us on Facebook, facebook.com/BTVOB. And you can also watch Bridgewater Television on Twitter. They're at BWTR Television. And of course, facebook.com/BWTR Television. So for John Luck, I'm Brian Berard. Thanks for watching Out of Bounds.